I'm Adrien Shaw. I'm a poet, photographer and published author, and friends of the owners of the gallery here in the main gallery in Truro.
Sounds like a very easy question to ask, but everybody's story is totally different. When did you first pick up a camera or pick up the pen and start writing? Where did your journey begin?
Yeah, good question. I began my photographic journey living in Canada in the mid-90s. I became an apprentice, loosely in the loose term, an apprentice to an award-winning photographer in the city of Vancouver. I ran about 1995, I believe. Learned darkroom processes, studio work, helped build a studio there as well, so I was very hands-on with him. I came back to the UK at the end of the 90s and started working in my own events and wedding portrait business, which I did on and off for probably 20 years. I started writing my poetry. I've been writing since I was about 5. I think my parents said I've always written in rhyme. I don't know why, it's always the way. And so at about 5 years old, I think there's still poems in my parents' house that I wrote when I was a child. And that's how I express, that's how I reflect the world around me. It seems to, whenever I write, it always seems to rhyme. And I don't know why, but I go with it. I started writing diligently in 2016. I began a body of introspective work, asking some of the bigger questions in life about who am I, what's it all about, why am I here, what's the world mean, type of thing, which is, shall we say, expanded into probably 5 to 6 collections of works, 2 of which have been published last year, Fragility of the Firm, which these photographs are within that collection. And I've just released one this year called I Recall a Yellow Sun, a poetic observation of a humanity in quiet revolution. A little bit deep, but it reads a little lighter.
Can I just ask where your sort of inspirations come from? Are you, like, what leads you to certain pieces or thought bubble? What's your inspiration? Where does it come from?
Writing for me is an automatic process. And I think other people that might write or write poetry, literature, philosophy, etc., they'll sit quietly and then they'll allow their mind to quieten. And within that silence, there's an upwelling. There's almost, from my experience, from how I write, it's almost like I'm not there, but at the same time I am, because I've got to operate the pen. It sounds a little bit metaphysical and such like, but it's a process of honouring whatever I'm seeing in my mind's eye to start writing, and I allow it to unfold, like it takes itself on a little journey. A lot of my poems, some of them can be 5, 6, 7 verses, some of them 5 pages long, depending on the structure of the poem. 1 verse is little quotes, and I know when it starts and I know when it ends. And so it takes me on the journey through each story, and it wraps itself up, and it's very, very clever, and I don't know how it does it or how it works, but that pen seems to have some sort of magic, and I just trust that process. When I review back my work, it's almost an introspective, personal dialogue with myself, and it's very revealing. So I've put that into a collections of work to share that with other people, in the hope that maybe that'll inspire them to do the same, or that they find some sort of reflection within that work that can benefit them in some way.
I think that's really important, because artists, writers, journalists, photographers, they're often capturing, creating things that are personal and things that they're seeing to share with the world. What kind of reactions have you had from different people, different organisations? Obviously, people now can come into this wonderful gallery here in Truro and muse across some of your works here. What sort of reaction have you received, and how does that both motivate and affect you as well?
Motivate first. It's lovely to share your work. I think any artist would say the same. Just to be able to create something and put it out there, it lends a sense of vulnerability, because you're bearing your soul, as they say, on whether you're a painter or a mosaic creator or writer. We're the same. It's trusting that somebody will pick up on it and they will resonate with it. But I think the first and foremost for any artist is you've got to be true to yourself. You do it because you're drawn to do it, and whatever the way that you're drawn to create, that is your outlet. You must do it. And I've got over that phase of whether or not people are, whether they like it, accept it or not. It's whether or not I accept it, whether I feel that I've done it justice. Whether it's writing, whether it's photographing, whether it's creating a book as an art piece, finding a publisher, or banging on doors for months on end, or self-publishing, or whatever it is creating that body that you feel fulfilled by. And that's the true path, I believe, of an artist. It doesn't really matter how somebody else responds or reacts to it, as long as you're true to yourself.
You talked about spaces there. Cornwall just seems to be such a creative space. What is it about Cornwall that lends itself to such diversity and creation? Just looking around this room as well, there's so many different forms of... There's half a mini there as a desk, for goodness sake. So there's so many, and this does happen in other parts of the world and all around the world, but Cornwall, we seem to be seeing this growth of kind of creativity and inspiration, and we do live in a wonderful part of the world which does lend itself to places and pieces like this, doesn't it?
It's an ancient world, isn't it? And I wonder how much of that energy, if you want for the right word, is impregnated through everything throughout this world, not just the fact that it's built mainly on granite, so that's a crystalline source, maybe it holds the something magic there, I don't know, but it does draw. And I think even the St Ives groups and such like Newland groups that we know so well, people come from all over the world to be here, and I think it's just got an open-armed kind of welcoming. The light is great. Everyone talks about light, right? Photographers, painters, everything. It's all about the light. But there's something deeper here, I think, and I think it's ancient. And people are drawn to that reconnectiveness. I believe it helps people connect back to themselves. And as you said, that's art, right? It's connecting to oneself. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what's next for you? We've got some pieces here. You've got some pieces published as well. We'll talk in a minute about where people can find these pieces. Maybe if they've been inspired to get in touch or to have a look at some of your body of work. But what's next? What's coming up in the future for you? We're always talking. We're never happy with what the now, are we? We're always talking about right. What's next? The pressure's on. What's happening? Where are you taking your journey?
I've got a couple of photographic books, one based on Mevagizzi, which are in-camera double exposures that I've done, which are little zines that I will put out later this year, just a limited edition of 50, sort of stuff with mini prints and things, which are just winter projects when it's dark and it's quiet and you've got nothing else to do, and the light's the same every day. As we talk about light, some days it benefits when it's for black and whites, we light the dark clouds and the moodies, and I've got a little cohesive unit there, but philosophically, I'm working on my next book now.
Amazing. If people listening have been inspired to follow your journey, to maybe look at some of the work, maybe start their own journey, perhaps they want to get in touch and ask for advice, how can people get in touch with you? Where can they view or purchase your items?
I've got a website, which is poeticsoliloquy.com. The word soliloquy is broken down. It's Latin, meaning solo means alone, and loqui means to speak. So how you speak to yourself when you're on your own. So it's like a monologues. So poeticsoliloquy.com. You can find links to both my books on there, and gallery link, etc., to where I'm represented.
Amazing. And I always, at the end of every interview, always ask, is there anything else you wanted to add that you think is important for people to hear that are listening or reading, whatever it might be, or anything that we haven't covered at all?
I think that just a closing statement I always like to make, and I've got a little YouTube channel which is terrifying to sit in front of cameras to do that and deliver, but I always say at the end of it, the most important thing in one's life is to stay true to oneself. However that leads you, as long as you honour and you stay true to one's essence and one's own beliefs, etc., you won't go far wrong. And if you're going to create something and you've been sitting on the fence about how do I do it, just start. It'll take care of itself.